As the advertising conference in Cannes last week, at that conference, TikTok maintained a prominent presence, highlighting its role as a cultural powerhouse among young consumers. While in Washington, debates intensified over the future of the Chinese-owned app amid concerns of espionage and propaganda. Joining us now is Ben Smith, Semafor co-founder, editor-in-chief, and I don't know where we stand right now on TikTok. I could debate myself on what I think should be done. Do you have an answer, Ben?
I mean, I think the reality is that the wheels are in motion in Washington, and you know, both houses of Congress passed this forced divestment or ban. President signed it. It's moving forward. Probably won't happen before the election. And what's so strange is that everyone seems to kind of forgot about it, particularly in the advertising business, where they love TikTok and where TikTok is happy to show up and just not talk about it. And it just felt like this real split screen where TikTok is selling fun AI avatars in France to American companies. And meanwhile, in Washington, really is, I think, headed for the cliff.
Because it's both parties, too. This is not a partisan sort of issue.
Yeah, it's both parties with the possible exception of Donald Trump, who has said he doesn't like the ban. But it's a tricky situation because he doesn't have to like the ban. It's already in place.
And Mnuchin has stepped in and tried to explain to him why he thinks a purchase is better, his former Treasury Secretary. So there's all kinds of interesting players around the sides.
Yeah, and potentially lots of incredible deal for somebody who gets TikTok if the Chinese decide to sell it. But the company is really remains one of the great advertising vehicles in the United States right now. Hundreds of millions of dollars being spent there by big American companies, and the kind of suspension of disbelief that something's going to happen.
What should we be most angry or afraid of about TikTok? What should we really hang our hat on for why we need to clean this up? I mean, I want to clean up all of them. And we saw last week, they send like porn to 13-year-olds, and if they watch to the end of it, they send even better porn or worse porn, however you want, however you want to view it.
That's like a great feature. I think you're basically. A lot of this is of the momentum here is just coming from people who think all social media is bad, particularly for kids. TikTok, by being the best at serving you the thing you want, maybe is the worst. And then there's a lot of basically pretty hazy talk about why it's a security threat. The notion the Chinese could be finding data out about the users and that they could be using it to push propaganda. Neither of those things has been proven really at all, but I think there's a sense that there's just this latent threat. You wouldn't let a foreign sort of hostile government own NBC or ABC, and that the notion that a huge media platform like this is owned abroad
that's the thing that I think is
people.
So strange. I mean, there are still rules, and we've been talking about it with CBS and Sony. The idea that you're not allowed to have foreign ownership of any mass media where you've got broadcasting or something else, and now you have something that has more than 100 million subscribers. Why are the rules different?
Well, the trick is you buy something really small and then you do a great job and it gets big, and there's no and the moment when the government could have intervened was when it was a tiny little dance app called Musical.ly that seemed whatever it was, maybe it was a sort of strange thing for teenage girls to be doing, but it was not a national security threat. And now the question is, can you put the genie back in the bottle?
Andrew?
Hey, Ben, I wanted to get your reaction. I was actually leaving Cannes right when it was taking place, but Elon Musk speaking there, I know you were reporting on it. But how did advertisers think about that? And by the way, how do you think they think about advertising on X today versus advertising on a platform in TikTok that people are describing as a national security threat?
Well, first, to take your second question first, they love advertising on TikTok because they think it's sort of the home of youth culture and can move product, and they're deeply skeptical of advertising on X. And Musk, who does know that fundamentally advertising is has always been most of Twitter than X's business, went out to this advertising conference to kind of kiss the ring and tell advertisers he loved them, but couldn't quite bring himself to do it, honestly. Does not deeply care about or like advertising, was sort of given an opportunity by Mark Reed, the CEO of WPP, to apologize for past comments, did it grudgingly, and I think schmoozed with advertisers, made them feel good. He's a big celebrity, but did not come with any particular plan to bring them back to the platform.
Do you think that platform is effective? And by the way, do you think the TikTok platform is effective? Because one of the things I did hear out there was that Meta, whether it's Instagram or even, by the way, classic Facebook, you know, they repeatedly say is, for them, the most effective of the platforms.
You know, Meta and Google have just so much experience in, you know, pulling people in with this with marketing and then converting them to whatever they want, you know, to buy, and measuring it very carefully. And TikTok is a younger and much kind of messier technically platform, but I think so maybe is less of kind of a must-buy than those two, but it certainly is in the mix. I mean, you know, a big part of Musk's pitch for Twitter, for X, was not that you can reach everybody in the world, but it's the only place that you can reach certain very powerful people, notably Elon Musk. So if you want to sell something to Elon Musk, buying an ad on X is basically the only way, and that was part of his pitch.
So what would the smoking gun be for us to know definitively that TikTok is a security risk, do you think? How would we really, because it's almost enough for me,
yeah, I mean,
watching China's intentions, that if they had access, there's no way that they wouldn't use it to try to, in some way, undermine U.S. culture, U.S. You know, if they can do it, they would. It's like Murphy's Law. If it's possible to do it, they would. Otherwise, it's just another social media site, which, in and of itself, is probably bad for our kids, but it's no different than all the other ones.
No, I mean, I think that's what you said is just exactly the argument. It's they could do it. If you were them, you probably would. There's not really evidence that they are.
I can almost guarantee you that they are.
But right? You know, or that it's some moment of crisis in the future.
Or they have it. They can use it in the future.
They might, and that whole idea is so worrisome that we got to force them to sell it. That is the basic argument. I don't think it's a crazy argument, but it does often bleed into a kind of, I don't know if it's a conspiracy theory, but claims that the Chinese government is making the youth pro-Palestine,
You've noticed that
for instance.
All the conspiracy theories have all been true. You've noticed that, right?
Is that the conclusion of this show?
Yeah,
is that what we've learned?
That's my conclusion. Pick one.
All right, I will not.
Okay, because it's true.
It makes me concerned.
As they go into court with this, the argument is, okay, well, tell us what the secret briefings are, and then we can decide as the court. Is that going to happen either? I mean, it's...
I think they clearly, the intelligence community clearly got Congress pretty worked up about this,
right.
Told them something, came out, voted unanimously bipartisan for this ban. But I do think that, you know, the intelligence community also has a history of, making claims like this that then don't always hold up under scrutiny. I think the alternative to this ban, which a lot of people in the technology world would like to see, is some kind of regulation that tells all social media companies they can't take data at this scale. They have to be transparent about how they're manipulating the content. And and TikTok isn't that different from the others in a lot of these ways.
By the way, China has never allowed any of our social media companies to operate there.
That's true, and that's because they're an authoritarian,
Correct,
state.
But if you're in the intelligence community and you're worried about something.
Not yet, Jeff.
Not yet, yeah. Just the justice.